So I'm here in Buffalo, New York, because my dad's from here, and I'm trying to get his family to give me some land, find some land out here where my dad is from, because my existence is his fault, right? It's too late to abort me now, but people, you should just get an abortion for his sons. There's no population problem for women. There are never enough women, right? But there are too many men in this world. But I want to speak to this radically conservative political idea known as the tragedy of the commons. The tragedy of the commons is the notion that a radically conservative welfare state could do everything that you need with only historical information, because all you would have to do to solve the homeless problem is to allow the homeless to share the common land, which is the unimproved land, right? So you build your house on your unit of zoning. You own that unit of zoning because you have improved that unit of zoning by building your house on it. But the land that is not owned by anyone, the land that is not improved by anyone for miles around, which in upstate New York you'll find huge tracts of land which are not owned by anyone at all. Or rather, they are owned by someone. Someone claims to own them, but they are totally unimproved, right? Maybe someone is making hay out of it, but that does not really improve the land. The claim to the ownership of the land is really consummated when a person improves the land, right? So the theory of the tragedy of the commons is that we could just simply allow the homeless people to share equally according to how many people are on the common land, whatever land in whatever town is unimproved. Whatever land is unimproved in whatever town. The problem is that one town wouldn't be able to do it because they'd have 10 million homeless people showing up there, so you'd have to have a national law. You hear similar arguments about the welfare state in general, which in fact are more assuredly correct. Which is that if all of the welfare bureaucracy would just vacate the offices of the welfare state, the empty building, the empty hall to provide peace and safety for people who have whatever sickness, allow them to rest, would do more than the entire welfare state. If you just made an empty hall where sick people could rest, old people could rest, and young people could be left by their parents where they are safe, it would do more than the entire metastatic parasitic welfare bureaucracy that you have. So if we just fire the entire welfare state and just use the buildings for people with who are sick, or for children, or for old people, to allow the sick people a place to rest, even if you didn't have as much as a medic or one nurse, which would be the obvious first thing to get in a welfare state to provide for the welfare of everyone. But the point is that if you just left people alone, it would do more for their well-being than giving them free food or trying to help them buy an automobile because they feel like less of a man or something. These are in fact conservative Republican ideas, right? The idea that the welfare state should just be emergency health and safety records. The Republicans were the ones who set up the state universities, parks, and the public library. Now you don't need the library, you should just have a public study hall. And if there isn't enough space, then you have to prioritize sick people so that they can have some place to rest, because rest is always the thing for any disease. If you had an orderly system of digital public health and safety, historical public health and safety records, you could just let the homeless people park their trailers in the park and share the space in the park equally. And then the only system of public medical care we would really positively demand would be a place where the sick can rest, and maybe a medic, right, to treat your wounds or provide basic triage or counteracting substances, and as well as hygiene, right? These are basic things that a person, the obvious first thing that the welfare state should be getting you, besides information, is simply a place to rest and be where it is peaceful. But this suggestion, even though it is, I believe, a conservative Republican political idea, has all of the municipal governments in rural upstate New York acting up. I don't believe in municipal government is supposed to be enforcing criminal law at all. I believe that is the sense of the term municipal government, means that they deal only with property law. But they're trying to fight the homeless by turning minor traffic citations into criminal offenses, so that they can get you in their prison system and administer one of their beatdowns. So this is why a lot of people are talking about New York City statehood in New England. We want Long Island. A lot of people want Long Island to be the 51st state, because New York City is acting like a state, and this is why New York law is so weird, because the municipality of New York City is making criminal law because it acts like a state. It has to, and it needs to become a state along with Long Island in the same state. But that's why you have New York, say, upstate rural New York municipalities and courts that meet only one day a week and are not even staffed by lawyers. The judge isn't even a lawyer. That's why you have them overreaching and trying to do criminal violations in order to fight the homeless people in New York, because there's a massive foreign real estate racket in New York, because they're trying to control the famous Ivy League campuses of Cornell and all of the campuses at in New England, Harvard, and Columbia, by controlling New York State real estate. So New England is really being choked by the leviathan of New York State, and we want to break it up and make Long Island a state, and the west side of New York, and extend. I think we should just extend Connecticut and Massachusetts and Vermont over to the Hudson River, because this is the confusion that results from municipal law in New York State, because New York City acts like a state already anyway. But as you can see, the historical confusion of what is meant by the tragedy of the commons, the historical mystery of this, what I believe to be a conservative, you might say anarcho-conservative, Republican political idea, very simple conservative welfare state, is causing the rural municipalities over here to fight against the homeless, because they believe that they're anarchists trying to bring down the government, or they have some fear of the homeless people coming out of the cities in New York and seeking some kind of anarchist revenge for the decades of brutally oppressive sexual exploitation of the country club New York Republicans of the urban people in New York State. But we're not expecting a municipality to accept all the homeless people on their unimproved land just yet. It would obviously take a national law, because they'd have 1 million homeless people that they couldn't service or help, and it would overwhelm the local system. But they also should not be acting like a state government. They should be seeking federal approval before they, I believe, are required to seek federal approval before they administer criminal law, like New York City does, which also is probably the origin of the troubles in New York State, because Long Island and New York City should have become a state a long time ago. Not least because the politics there and the need for certain policies is so vastly different. So I got a minor traffic citation out in one of these rural counties while going to political campaign in Pennsylvania and Connecticut. let's hope that this small traffic court administering what I believe to be illegitimate criminal traffic offenses doesn't torture me to death in some dungeon that the state of New York is running.